This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
Hello, folks. It must seem like my voice has been bloody silenced. I've been disappearing on and off the screen and haven't given you much to really look forward to over the last, couple of weeks, really. The introduction to the new year was absolutely freaking awful for me. Bad neck, bad back, vomiting, headache, all sorts of shit. You didn't want to know me. I wasn't very friendly. But that part of me has improved a bit. I've been heavily involved in some meetings in the last couple of days, pardon me, down on the Gold Coast and other places, meeting people, trying to discuss a way forward, trying to find a way forward where all the different groups can find common ground and go ahead. I know obviously quite a lot of us are aware of the bullshit going down at the moment in the freedom fighter movement. I know nothing about it. I wasn't at Canberra, hadn't been to Canberra. At that stage, I hadn't been to Canberra in 23 years or something, I think we'd figured out. So I wasn't at Epic. I wasn't there for any of that. And I've stayed out of it for that reason because, not my monkey, not my band. So I am playing the game. And it's a very dangerous game that a lot of these people are playing. Now, I'm led to believe, I haven't caught up on Guru's show. I know he's been prolific recently. And of course, from what I'm hearing from a number of sources, he's now touting himself as the Australian equivalent to whoever's speaking to everybody of significance in the US. That may well be the case. I'm not terribly interested in talking to anybody in the US. They can't really help us here at the moment. All that's going to do is feed somebody's ego, and I don't need that. So I won't be chasing SG and On or any of these other supposed truthers in the movement. I'm not looking for the audience. I'm happy just sitting here talking to you, and if you choose to join the audience and be part of the audience, then that's great. We plan on doing more than just talking about the infighting in this game. Not even interested in the infighting. I'm sick to death of them. I'm sick to death of all the infighting, the bitchiness, the carry-on that's gone on in between these desperate groups. The sooner they realize they are a fractured group, the better we will all be. And I've spent the day today, particularly this afternoon, sitting with John Wilson. We've had some fantastic conversations, and it's going to lead to something significant. John is not a man driven by ego in any way, shape or form, and he has a great plan. We're going to bring that plan to you over the coming weeks and months. And of course, what we're going to do with the Voice of Freedom is hit the road and bring you something a little bit special. It's quite a privilege to be allowed to bring you what we will bring you on the road. In TV terms, it's very significant. It's essentially a mobile television station, and the good thing about this television station is it's yours. You don't have to worry about mainstream TV or whatever paid TV you happen to subscribe to. The Voice of Freedom's TV channel is your channel. We will tell the people's truths. We will ask the people's questions, and we will get the people the answers they require. That requires you buying into it. You've got to be part of all of this. Otherwise, there's no point in us being on the road. If you don't want us on the road, that'll be pretty clear. You'll stop asking us to come. But at the moment, there are a lot of people who want us to hit the road, come to their town, and tell them about a great many things, including my place. Now, last year, Darren Bergwerf set my place up in Victoria. A spectacular success, I think, is the way that we would judge it at this point, particularly Frankston. But the whole movement itself is amazing. Darren's going to join us very shortly. He was in and now he's dropped out. So hopefully he'll be able to log back in again shortly. We're going to talk about the success of my place and why it is being successful and why your town, your place needs to have a My Place. And that's what, in part, Voice of Freedom will do next year. We will endeavour to travel to all the places that set up a My Place, and we will set up a big network through that, a My Place network. Now, there are plans going forward that we will help propagate a TV channel, for the want of a better term. It is not going to be terrestrial TV. Nobody's going to hand over their transmitter to me and allow content that I make or any of the other people in this field make up through their transmitter, not until there's a huge regime change. But I can create an online channel for you, and I can not propagate that with all me, because I'm not about that. Sure, there'll be a bit for me, but there will be bits for other people who are worthy of having the people's ear. And this obviously is a channel that will have to earn your trust. So I plan on propagating the channel with people you can trust, people you trust already, and are not afraid to answer questions or be transparent when required. And, obviously we want transparency all the time. I'm very happy to be part of that, and I am very pleased to tell you that by demonstrating and leading from the front, so is this man, Darren Bergwerf. Happy New Year, brother. Great to see you. You're looking fit. You're looking even a little tanned, may I say, for a Victorian in midwinter.
Oh, the camera must be doing something that I'm not seeing in where I'm looking, but that's all good. Happy New Year, Carl. How are you?
Good, mate. Yep, very good. Didn't start the new year out the way I'd planned with neck and back issues that knocked me around for 6 a bit. But anyway, maybe that was God's way of just saying you need to have a rest for a minute and try and get your head together, even though I was swearing at my head a lot because it was aching a fair bit. But got that out of the way. And this week I've been pretty busy with a number of different meetings, some of which were pertaining to a great deal of interest for My Place. So I guess the first question I have for you regarding My Place, I think when we left you just prior to Christmas, and I can't imagine there's been too much go on over the Christmas New Year period, but maybe in the last week or so, have we hit 60 My Places around Australia yet?
Would be fairly close, but not quite, about 58, I think.
Great.
We've had a few just started in the last week. Phillip Island started over the holidays. They got 70 people have joined.
My Place.
Yeah, so anyone, My Place, Phillip Island is up and running. Get on board and join that group, and that's going to be. I think that'll be a really popular one because
I do too.
Yeah, the island's got quite a few residents. Only a 20-minute drive across the island, so we've got San Remo, Kilcunda, Granville, all those places that are very close to Phillip Island. We also got My Place Manham in South Australia started now.
Hey, awesome job.
Yeah, and today we got up My Place Nimbin.
Wow.
And, of course, we've got My Place Byron Bay, which is kicking goals as well. They're getting a lot of – they've nearly cracked 200 already. So the growth's starting to come through, and we've got a lot more people that we're talking with over the next week. We'll probably have another 4 or 5.
That's bloody spectacular, mate. Bloody spectacular. Okay, so a couple of things. My Place Nimbin, that's going to be a show and a half. I don't know whether we should invite Guru. We may never see him again. But My Place Nimbin, that's going to be awesome. And I'll have friends up in that area who I know are in vans and whatnot, camping in the hills. So that'll be great to see a few of those folks there. And Alex in Byron. So now he's been pretty persuasive. He's very keen to get you up to Byron. Now, I'm trying to figure a time frame where I can join you for this, right? So the issue that we have at the moment, folks, is we have been granted, by the grace of God and a benefactor, some very powerful TV equipment. There is no point in me rolling that out when I don't know how to use it properly, and the Galactic Larrikins don't know how to use it properly. So I'm waiting to get enough fuel in the tank to get me down to Canberra so I can spend a week in Canberra with the boys. We can set this gear up, we can make it sing, and then we will be ready to take our live shows on the road. The first of those live shows, I can tell you, will be Michelle in the Blue Mountains at Binnaburra. That's a great new My Place there. And I saw the pictures on Facebook the other night. She'd set the place up complete with the carved sign out the front and everything. It just looks absolutely amazing. So Michelle, rock chick baby, we are coming your way. Then we're going to go and do a little something from the Donkey Sanctuary, which I've been promising people to turn to give them a little bit more knowledge of. That's not going to be a live audience thing. We don't want to scare the donkeys, but we will give you a bit of information about that. And then I was thinking we'll come back up to Byron. Now, if we can time that so that it's around the time you're going to come up, I was going to offer you a ride back to Victoria with me via a couple of shows, maybe Tamworth, Dubbo, West Wyalong, somewhere around the the central west of New South Wales, the high northwest of New South Wales, and Albury Wodonga, I believe, is getting a My Place up and going. Maybe we could end up there. I can drop you back home.
I can't remember now whether it was Wodonga or Wangaratta, but one of those we've already got started. I think it's Wodonga.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So if you're up for
depends on the date. I'm booked into the comedy club at the Magistrates Court in Frankston on the 3rd of February. Okay. So I've got front row seats on the 3rd of Feb, and then the 15th of March I've got another one. So it'll have to be somewhere working around that.
Yeah, all right. Well, you and I will get our heads together on that and see if we can't put it together. I think it'll be a hell of a trip if we can actually get you into a couple of these new My Places on the way down too, and then from there we'll come back into Melbourne. There's a couple of new places. I've got to go to the Yarra Valley and go and check that out. Do you want to explain the whole Peter Hitchener thing, the thing that's going on with the Frankston City Council at the moment? You've got into it. Are we keeping that a bit close to our chest?
No, not at all. Not at all. Let's look. We're looking for as much publicity as we can on every issue against the Frankston Corporate Council. This is the first one for the new year. Someone that's a part of My Place that helped me in the federal election put a post on Facebook last week. The council looking to close quite a large park that's been there forever and a day. The residents have bought their properties around that deliberately for that because it backs onto the park. They're looking to open a new childcare or preschool centre there. So there was a bit of an outcry. We all jumped on board. I got behind it with all the My Place crew and the Frankston People's Council. We got up there Saturday morning. We must have had probably 150 people turned up. We got 20 new members signed up to the Frankston People's Council. And we had the Herald Sun photographer there, took some photos, published it online Sunday night. And then it was Channel 9 were there on Monday, and did a full spiel, nearly a 2-minute clip. Peter Hitchener basically giving Frankston Council a bit of a roast. So I think it's going to become very popular for the mainstream media for public interest stories around Frankston because we're going to be wheeling them out whenever we get a chance. We're going to be getting them down there, and it's going to paint Frankston City Council in a pretty ordinary light, I think.
Yeah. So you keep calling it the Frankston Corporate Council. There is a reason behind that. Would you suggest that people who may have issue with their local council delve a little deeper into who runs and actually owns that council?
Well, that's a mission that's like chasing the Holy Grail. I started doing some research because I've got to draw up an affidavit for my court case, and I've got a lot of stuff to lodge, and it's getting more and more every day against these people, and it's very, very dodgy how this is all set up. The Frankston City Council is actually just a name. The ABN that they put on their rates notice is actually registered to another business, which is the Frankston Safe Boat Harbour. Now, we're trying to find out who owns that or what corporate structure owns the Frankston Safe Boat Harbour, with little avail at the moment. But there is certainly a lot of very little transparency of how this structure is set up. It's certainly not a constitutional council that we all believe that we are under. It looks very suspicious as far as I'm concerned, and we have a team of people that are doing as much research as we can to undo the web of trading names, business names, and try and get down to which one's the corporation. Because under the, I believe, and I haven't read it myself, but I believe from the conversation I had today with two people, that the Local Government Act of 1989, if that is, I think it's 89, states that all corporations are to become corporations. They're supposed to be all corporations.
I've just had something of an epiphany. All right, I'm going to be 100% honest about this. In that time frame, my father was working in council. He was a shire secretary, but he was also working within the local government association. Now, he retired at some point. Can't remember the year, but I'll figure it out. After a while, he was approached by Victorian state government to help put together the amalgamation of councils around Victoria. So smaller councils became part of larger councils. It was sort of a redistribution of council power as well. So, and bear in mind, I had no interest in what my old man did back in the day. So I'm really scratching for memory on it now. But I think if anybody was to do a deep dive on those kinds of documents, you're probably going to find his signature on it there somewhere. I'd be very interested in learning more about that.
Well, we've got a whole team of researchers trying to do.
That's the shift of power through that era.
Yeah, I think that was when Kennett was in, wasn't it? When he kind of created the super councils in the late 90s.
Yeah. But there was a lot of preparation going into that. And Dad came out of retirement to do like a 12-month contract with it to push it all through. Like I say, I'm a bit confused about it, but I'm sure, given the amount of dirt people like to call people like me are hiding, then go dig up that. I'd be interested to find out the truth too. Interesting times in that Victorian sphere, particularly. The way that they're talking about local government at the moment, have you seen Albanese say that he would like to remove state governments completely and just have the locals in power?
Well, I actually, not under this current regime, I wouldn't like to see that. But certainly when we get to the stage that we're all working towards, I personally would like to see that as well, because what they're trying to do at the moment, and all the talkies and the surveys out there and the Ratepayers Association are all looking to do deals to amalgamate and reduce the number of councils on the idea that it's going to cut costs and all this kind of stuff. Now, to me, that's centralising power again. And if you were to get rid of all of the councils and only have 6 state government or 7 state governments and a federal government, once again, power is being more centralised. So I'm totally opposed to that. And when we get our country back, I believe that the state government should be the one that disappears, and the local council is providing its the structures in place where it can't be used and abused. Yep. And anyone that does will end up with a jail term. And if you're not there to look after the people and do the right thing and manage the municipality for the people, then don't bother applying to think you're going to feather your own nest. So I'm opposed to the current regime.
How would that work, given, let's say, a council area the size of Ballarat versus a council or shire area? I'll use the Wimmera as an example. The old man used to run the Dunmunkle Shire, which was amalgamated into Horsham and Warwick, Nabil, and a few other bits and pieces eventually, I think. So they are regional, wheat belt kind of towns with a couple of 100 to 500 people living in them. Other than Horsham, of course, they've got a few more. How would you weigh up and decide how the money was distributed in a local fair way so that the roads from one council area to the next, were consistent? The rubbish pickup was consistent, all of that.
Look, that's open for discussion. I think that hopefully we're going to get a push to the bush, and we're going to get more people back into the country, because we're going to start manufacturing, and hopefully we can get some manufacturing out into the big country towns, and we get our agriculture industry back, and we get more people living in those rural areas. But yeah, that's look. there's certain ways to do it. You could do it per head of capita, but then again, if you've got a lot of roads and you've only got a small amount of people, you're probably not getting the funding you need. And maybe the roads and infrastructure might have to be looked at a federal level on a needs-to basis. But all of those things, they've got to be done and paid for by the government as a service to the community. And however the money is raised to do that, it just goes into the economy. No difference to what has been done before. And as long as it's not done in a all at once and we flood the economy and too much work, everything's got to be balanced and done so that it's sustainable.
Absolutely. Sharon's raised a question here. She thinks the councils are the ones pushing the New World Order. I would agree with that, but we have a lot more opportunity to change the council at our local level and to make sure that they're accountable to us, because we see them walking in our streets every day. They live next door to us, or they live the next street over or around the corner or the other side of town. So they're much more accountable to the people they are representing. That's what represent means. They are representing the people's views in that sphere where decisions are made for and on behalf of the people. So it makes them accountable. Less so for state government types. I know they still live in a street somewhere and around the corner from someone, but they breathe rarefied air. And the higher up the ministerial chain they get, the different layers of security and protection they lay around them. So you don't get to see them at all. And should they reach the pinnacle, then, they're spending more time in Canberra than anywhere else. Anyway, so we're looking for people who are coming from the grassroots, and that's what we need, to come from the grassroots through somewhere like my place, where we can see the bona fides of people. We can see the doers, not the wannabes, not the people who want to be mayor or want to be the representative, but the people who are prepared to go out and do what is required so their town, their area improves, their community grows. And get stronger without personal growth, without personal gain, rather. There's plenty of personal growth to be had. I can speak from experience. There's a ton of personal growth to be had. But I think, we've got to drive that going forward, Darren. I think that's one of the really important things. If we can change it at a grassroots level, at our local council level, and make those people accountable, that's the key. Make sure when they walk down the street after they've made a decision that isn't in the favour of the people, that looks after a brown bag handler somewhere at the back end of the quarter, out in back end of the council chamber, then let them know about it. Let them know you've seen it. Let them know it won't be happening again come the next election. And then join up with your local People's Council. And if you don't have one, get along to Darren's peoplescouncil.org, isn't it?
FrankstonPeoplesCouncil.org.
Yep. And look at the first 3 minutes, 3 sets of minutes. That'll tell you how you set this up and make it a People's Council in your area. Make it happen. Because if your council isn't looking after you at the moment, then who are they going to elect? They're going to elect next time the people they see in the community doing things.
But once again, the process really for a successful, I believe anyway, a successful People's Council is to have your community already up and running. Now, Louise today from Nimbin, she's already got, she's done a massive amount of work. She's already done rolled out a lot of the things that we are doing. But after an hour conversation with her today, she could see the benefit of putting Nimbin on the map as a My Place community for the reasons that everybody pretty much around Australia knows what it means to be part of a My Place community. And I'm still watching a lot of shows and a lot of YouTubers and all this kind of stuff. And all they do is get on there and talk. I can't see many of them whatsoever that actually have a structured plan to put in place that when the people actually come together face to face, that they can work and strategize and get to work on saving our country. It's all talk and bluster and banging drums. There's not. Look, I might be being a little bit facetious or thinking that we've got the best model, but I don't see much else around Australia that has the structure and the work ethic and what we're trying to build in every My Place community. So we've got to get the community organised first. Have your council action group. They're rolling out everywhere. I spoke to Tim Dwyer today from South Australia. He emailed me a document now that we can all fill out, and as far as surveillance, because there are surveillance laws, and all your councils and all these cameras that are up everywhere, these surveillance laws are being broken. They're not allowed to record and keep us going about our private business. So, and that's just a very simplistic comment. I haven't read the legislation or know in it. Just for the conversation I had, we now have a template that people can fill out and send off to their council or Vic Roads or whoever it is that owns those cameras that are on all the traffic lights. We need to find out, and is basically non-consent. We're taking back our consent for those cameras and for our surveillance to be tracked, and that we have to do that because even in our constitution, if we don't say anything, that means that we consent. So it's about time we had our voice heard, and there's lots of people getting documents together that we can all very easily use. It takes 5 minutes to fill out, and we can have our voice heard.
What more can I do with the Voice of Freedom to try and help grow this, do you think, this year?
Mate, just what we're doing tonight, just get, this is what all kicked it off. What kicked it off last year really was from pretty much South Morang to Frankston, and the 3 shows we did, and a couple just before that really, got to a lot of people. So if we can keep getting together like this, and every town you get into and any contacts that you come across that might be interested in rolling this out, we've been talking about this blueprint for quite a while. We had a meeting with Alistair, and we went to the Sunbury meeting the other week, and then Monday night we're at the Greensboro, my place, for their meeting. They've got a really well structured group. They've got 500 people already in 2 months since they started early November.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so it really is. We're gonna get more information to people. We're still trying to build our structures so we can accommodate the growth. We're not really pushing growth at the moment because we're still playing catch up. We're doing a fortnightly Zoom with the coordinators of all the My Place communities, so we can make sure we're on the same page. We're going into getting some merchandise happening, bumper stickers, some caps, some T-shirts. So we're kind of ramping up the whole thing. We're going to turn My Place Australia into a fundraising thing where we can fund the expansion in all different ways, and also just selling what we are, who we are, what we're doing, and the effects that we're having in our local communities already, where we've been established for 12 months. This really is the way forward.
I agree. Has to be the way forward. And if you think about it, folks, you've heard tonight that Phillip Island has started up. Now, I'm not going to dump it on the folks at Phillip Island just yet, but can you imagine that having a My Place membership in your town and being able to, if you're a motorcycle fan and you make the annual trek down the island on your bike every year, how nice would it be knowing that you've got a My Place to go to that may even have a little bit of camping land around it, away from the track, that isn't going to cost you a fortune. And you'll be camping with like-minded people who sorry, I'm being called from South Africa. Look out.
Have I got a deal for you?
I'm getting a bit of an update of what's happening on the streets of Johannesburg at the moment. He's buggered up the time zone. But anyway, I'll give him a call back when we're done. It's I think it's important that we understand when we get the entire network up and going, and every new My Place is going to be part of that, then eventually, for those that are able and equipped to do so, there'll be people who travel Australia simply to go and visit My Places. And I think that's a really exciting future for the My Place movement. And I would love, as we've discussed and we're working towards achieving, I would love to be able to go around and set one of these up in every town, leave something to benefit the community in our wake everywhere we stop. And I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on tonight, about the plans for what we can do when we come to your town. Obviously, memberships are one thing we're calling for at the moment. Darren, you've been part of the conversation about memberships and trying to get us on the road and funding it. You've obviously got your own funding issues to confront. You've got, as you say, a couple of comedy club court appointments coming up fairly soon. That costs money, and you have been funding my place out of your own pocket since the get-go. So we need to be able to come up with a model where we can help generate some money into the movement to help generate better products, better services, and all up more my places, which will be, I believe, the beginnings of the community of the future. I think we can do that, and the more people behind us, the better. Obviously, if you want to become a member of Voice of Freedom, that's great. We'd love to have you. It doesn't mean that you get anything special. I'm not going to tell you behind the scenes, behind a paywall, secret, intel, because I believe everybody has a right to the same information, whether you can pay for it or not. We will figure out other ways to reward you as we go forward. But at the moment, 100% the money that you commit to with our memberships is going into the fuel tanks of at least 3 vehicles, possibly 4, and keeping us on the road. So if you'd like to go and join, that'd be great. VoFHQ.com and check on the memberships link then, and follow your way through. Would love to have you. By no means is it compulsory, and if you don't have $1.25 a week, I understand. I've been in that position, so wholeheartedly. But we will make it happen, and we'll go to as many places as possible. Now, I know, Darren, I keep asking you, it's difficult for you to get away at times, given, the comedy courts and the fact that you've still got to go out and try and earn a crust somewhere at some stage and keep Frankston going. But I get asked 2 questions the most. The first one relates to Ricardo Bosi. The second one relates to you. The people all over the place want to meet you, want to meet you, get a feel for you too. So at some stage this year, we're going to have to bail you and Anna up. I think we'll send you to North Queensland in the colder part of the year down in Victoria, and then we'll arrange something in other parts of the country. If people want you to come, let's arrange it. We might take a couple of weeks and make it a bit of a driving holiday where we work every night. But I'm really keen to grow this with you, mate, and you on the road being seen by the people is going to be an integral part of that.
Well, it is, and what we're doing tonight is obviously an integral part as well, because the more people that see this and kind of understand, and that's what pretty much swung it today when I was speaking to the lady Louise in Nimbin, and she already had a really well organised group, and I said, look, why don't you go away, talk to your group, but we're trying to connect the whole country, and for so long I've been saying that we need to have one umbrella where everybody's involved, so we know just how many towns, just how many numbers are out there of people that are awake. And if we can connect the whole of Australia and the whole country knows where there's a My Place community, and exactly they know what that means when there is one, it's really important. And as far as the funding goes, when you look at how much money people spent when they went to Canberra, which I believe at the time it was a well-worthy cause, and I think it was a process that we all needed to experience and we needed to go through. But when the call comes out again to go to Canberra, and I'm sure it's going to, I would urge people to really seriously think about how you're spending your money, your time, your energy, because I believe we're being led away from where the fight is. The fight is in your own town, in your own local council. All your money, resources, passion, and energy needs to go into fixing your own backyard. Forget about touring around the country and following all these leaders and whatever it is. Get out of that mindset and become your own leader. And you do that by finding your local community, whether it be My Place or Stand in the Park, whatever's available, and get involved in your local community, linking people up, connecting people, and sticking up for each other's rights and being in each other's corner for every fight that comes towards us, because there's going to be many more. They're going to be coming hard and fast. And if you're isolated and alone, you're going to sink. So we need to all come together. And I think another jaunt to Canberra is really, in my opinion, now I may be proven wrong, but in my opinion, it is not where we should be expending our energy and our finances.
I've got to say at this juncture, I think I'd probably agree with you. I know John Wilson very much supports that idea. There were 1 million, well, there were more than 1 million. There were more than enough, as the way John would put it, in Canberra last year. And what happened? They got fractured. They got told to go back and come back on another date. Even the people who told them to come back on another date didn't go back on that date. So what does that tell you about the movement? Well, it tells you that if you're going to get 1 million or more people to turn up in Canberra again, then next time you better be prepared to stay and not listen to the divisive elements that are put into the movement, that split the movement, that divide the movement. If you want to call it fracturing, what happened in Canberra with the various little groups that came to the head, and I could name them, but you all know who they are. What happened was they vertically fractured the freedom movement into all these little segments. And that let everybody go off and go and do their own different things. There wasn't one decision made in Canberra by the people. There wasn't anything laid down on paper that 200,000, much less 1 million people all put their hands up and said, "I," when asked the question. There was none of that. There was only division, and that was by design. Have a look at the people who did that and question them. Question the motives and what you've seen since. We are looking for something completely different than that. And we need to grow, learn, and fight our way towards that, and we will all be much better. Sorry, Darren, I probably got off on a bit of a tangent. I apologise for getting off the topic a bit, but it's important that people recognise Canberra for what it was. Canberra was a wonderful opportunity lost by design from people who vertically fractured the freedom movement, who poleaxed it, and are still trying to do that today. Now, I've tried very hard not to be a divisive point in the movement. In fact, it's the one rule I try to stick to. I do not want to be divisive. Division gets us nowhere. I want to be a unifying factor. John Wilson wants to be a unifying factor. I think, Darren, you are a unifying factor and want to continue that, certainly statewide. Let's make it nationwide, because seriously, man, you are Prime Minister material going forward. And there are many more like you. We need to find those people. We need to find the clear-headed, clear-thinking, reasonable people who aren't going to be caught up in ego, who aren't caught up in how many subscribers they can get or how many viewers they can pinch off another YouTuber. There is only one focus of the Voice of Freedom, that is the people, what the people want. Now, at the moment, the people are asking a lot of questions and some have an idea of what they want. But is it a unified idea? Is there a clear example or goal? No, there's not. But there will be very soon. And John Wilson and I will hopefully bring you up to speed a little bit more on that, and would love to have you as part of it. A very clear movement, singularly dedicated to the people and our freedom going forward. But remember, folks, freedom means, well, what? How do you define freedom? There are many people who think, being free is able to get on a plane and go across the other side of the country and see the grandkids. Hello, Hoodie. Is that what freedom means to you? Just being able to go down the pub with your mates and have a beer? Well, if that's what you think freedom is, you're a long way off. Freedom is much, much bigger than that. Might be much, much more than many people realize. So really start thinking about it. And one day soon, we're going to have a talk about the word democracy. People throw that around a great deal too. Democracy, when you actually learn a bit about it, is maybe not what it's cracked up to be. So that's all just some of the stuff I've been researching recently, and I will be talking about in the not too distant future. I am well off the track now, Darren. I am very sorry.
No, that's all right, because you're on the track with the stuff that happened in Canberra, and is still happening, because it was very obvious.
Childish bullshit is what it is. There's a lot of money that's gone missing. There's a lot of money that's gone missing, but are the people going to get their money back? No.
To me, that's a side issue, really. It's what it is to me is it's the people that don't dig deep enough or understand the complexities of what's going on with the people that they're following, right? And we were calling out, Palmer, Kelly, and all the people who are linked to that that thing, and Kelly's little love nest that he took Hoodie and Cossack and all these people into his office and signed this bullshit agreement. I mean, it was so easy to see who the controlled opposition were back then. It's still so easy to see it now. And anybody that's all these platforms, like you said, that are getting subscribers, that they're on there, half a dozen times a day. What I just like to know, and I'm not bagging them by any stretch, but it is all about their getting their head on the thing and getting a following more so than getting any structural change or any foundations built in their community that's actually going to have a long-term effect. Yeah. So it is all about numbers. It's all about subscriptions and potentially money. I don't know. I'm only guessing. I'm not into that self-promotion bullshit. I'm only on here and get on your show and a couple of others to push people or to explain to people how important it is that we have communities building and actually structurally doing something, implementing a plan that actually has some positivity and is actually working in a lot of different areas. So for all those people that just keep on talking about the problems and whinging and moaning and looking for that one thing that tells us that our saviours are here to rescue us. I mean, seriously, the amount of hours, and don't get me wrong, I do post stuff and I do look for stuff and put some relevant stuff up, but and some irrelevant stuff as well. But the amount of time that people spend doing that and chatting about all these things that might be or might not be happening, and probably 80% of it's fake news potentially, yet everyone is spending so much time just looking for that one thing that's going to say, oh, look, we're here, they're here to save us. If we could just cut that time in half and spend that other half of the time going out and finding people in your street and talking to them and joining communities, I think we'd be in a lot better position.
One of the problems I'm starting to have with certain members of the community are they've got, I know stuff, but I can't tell you. I mean, I can't think of a more bullshit statement a truther could possibly tell their audience. All right? They know shit, right? They know no more than you or I could find out with a little bit of deep digging and research through some of Telegram's wilder channels. Okay? They have no connection to anybody in a white hat. And I can guarantee you that because they simply do not have secure communications. It doesn't happen. So to be told, I know stuff, but I can't tell you, it puts us back exactly where we were 8-10 months ago. Look, there's things going on in the background. You'll know about it. What am I saying? 10 months ago, 2 years ago. There's things going on in the background. Wait until Christmas. It'll all be revealed. And then, no, wait until next Christmas. It'll all be revealed. Now we've had that Christmas. We've had the new year. We've had the new Congress. We've had all these triggers. And we are still sitting here arguing about what happened in Canberra last year. The people are still fractured. There is no unification. And it's exactly what these evil bastards want. Whereas at my place, you are unified. You find all the same people reading the same book. You may not be on the same page as them. You might be a bit ahead. You might be a bit behind. The beautiful thing about a place like my place is you can learn a lot from the people who've read a few more chapters ahead of you and build the community and that around it. That's exactly what my place is all about. And from there, like I say, you'll find the doers in your community and the people who want to rise up and do the right thing by everyone, not to enrich themselves.
Well, I think you find all those people that have been holding up that mirage that we're walking towards in the middle of the desert and we never quite get there, they are losing credibility hand over fist. And there's no substance to it. I mean, I've been there. I've been following Trump and all that stuff since 2015, 16. And I was right into it and I was doing 12, 13 hours a day. Until I kind of woke up in 2021 after Biden kind of got fake inaugurated, wherever that's all at. And I still believe something's going on, but that's not the answer. And it's not the answer to expect someone to come and save you. We've got to educate ourselves. I'm going to court, and I'm spending so much time at the moment trying to learn and cram to learn to represent myself. That's where we're at. If you don't stand up and save your own ass, no, you can't expect someone else to do it for you.
That's exactly right. There seems to be a lot of people sitting back waiting for the white hats to come in and save the day. You are the white hats, people. You have to stand up. You have to stand up and start taking action. Start showing that at least you've figured out what's going on and that the jig is up for these bastards. Then you can expect maybe to not ask for military support. You've got to understand that our military has been coerced, co-opted, prodded, pushed, plunged, God knows what else. Our enlisted men do what they are told. They are not the Freemasons in the business. The Freemasons reside in the officery and the brass, if you like. They are the ones that are dehumanizing our diggers. They are the ones forcing transgender issues and, all this shit that shouldn't be anything part of a fighting force. I think they've now instigated, classes for feelings for diggers. I mean, these are war-fighting machines that have been created, but now we're trying to dumb them down into something that very definitely isn't the case. And I know a lot of the enlisted are resenting what's coming from the higher-ups. Well, we want them to know that the people support them. We're here for them. We will support you. We love and respect what you do. The decision you made to go and serve your country was done with honor. What's happened to you, many of you, since you were enlisted, is very dishonorable. You had no control over it. We understand that. But just know that we, the people, support you 100% and are here for you. And Unite in White, as much as anything else, is to prove that, to show that there are people here who care for our military. It's not about the military coming to save us. It's about us coming to save the military. They need to know that they have the people's support. They need to know that we know what's been done to them. So
yeah, well, and it's time for all of these people. And I know Ricardo called this out October year before last. You got to the end of October, this, that, and the other. Here we are 14, 15 months later, and we're in no better position. So these people that don't swear an oath of allegiance anymore, and that's every barrister and lawyer and putrid judicial characters, they know they're doing the wrong thing. Right? They all know they're doing the wrong thing, and it's still against the law. Now, I don't know how many unlawful orders that they're following in the police department or in the army, potentially. Maybe they're not. But at any time, they have the power to quit en masse and walk away and stand with the people. They don't have to do what their bosses are telling them. But now, that might be a bit simplistic. Maybe I'm talking out of school. But at the end of the day, we all have choices. And I think they're waiting to see that the people actually have their shit together and have the numbers like they do over in Brazil before they're potentially going to take that kind of action where they won't comply and they will just quit en masse or whatever the scenario is. But until we as a community and as a country can stop listening to the noise of these people on these platforms that are out there day in, day out, and most of the ones that were on early at the very start of this are the ones that have led people astray and led them in the wrong direction. The ones that are behind the scenes actually doing the work, they're the ones that, and you shouldn't be following anybody, but they're the ones that you should be joining with and finding a community where you can actually do something substantial and structural to actually fix this problem.
I couldn't agree more, and I think Mary Ann's on the same on the same wavelength. I think, Darren, we've covered a fair bit tonight. I know Anna probably wants to take you off and give you a good feed, or at least have a conversation with you for a small portion of the evening.
Good luck with that.
Well, I don't want to hold you up, but it's important that people understand that my place is a really great starting point there. Okay, look, there might be other things that could be done, but my place is being developed with a consistency that will work across the board. There is a formula going into the creation of My Place, unlike anything I've ever seen before, where the people involved in putting it together are all like-minded folks like ourselves, very motivated people, real doers in their community, and they are very adept at picking people who want to be in the movement but aren't doers. So make sure you're a doer if this is something you want to do, folks, because My Place is something we all want to become able to rely on. I would like nothing more than to be able to travel from my place to my place to my place to my place to my place every night of the week and do a different show from a different town. That would be a wonderful, wonderful goal for us to achieve. And from that, folks, the tourism, the local business promotional opportunities, the area promotional opportunities that we can bring with this new equipment, and we can bring at a price point that is unbelievably affordable, then we can help you make a difference in your community and leave you with something of benefit that is going to grow. And when we come back in 12 or 18 months time, we'll be able to help you again, give it another boost, give it another kick, and see what development has happened. That's one of my dearest goals with what we're putting forward here, Darren.
Yeah, definitely. And I better give a quick plug to My Place Tenterfield. So we got one out there as well. We've got quite a bit in the northern New South Wales area at the moment, and obviously the Blue Mountains, and we're looking at Merimbula as well, because Merimbula, I believe, is one of another very bankrupt councils that are doubling their rates. Their rates are going up by 100%.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't had direct contact, but I'm talking with someone that has had direct contact with a few people up there that are very, very angry. So a trip up there shortly might be on the cards for me as well, because we need to get that community together on the same page and support them with all the council action that we're taking. So all the council action that we're building in Victoria, and we've got some massive stuff on 5G we're going to smack them over the head with. We've also got the smart city stuff that we're collating, that they're just rolling out the UN agenda. What the hell are Australian local councils rolling out a United Nations agenda for? We're looking at the structures of how these councils are set up, and they're not very transparent. And all this information stuff that the public need to be aware of. And if that means letter drops and all that stuff when we find this information, just so they start to get the idea that these councils are looking, it doesn't pass the pub test, that just gets the mind starting to wander and understand when more things come up, that they'll put two and two together, hopefully. But all of this stuff is very important, that every single community gets and starts to do some research on their local council, because this is where we're going to win this fight. Yep,
100%. Mate, thanks for joining me tonight. Look forward to catching up again soon, hopefully in person. We will discuss your imminent dates for Byron. I've got to go to Canberra, get the gear. We'll be doing live shows, learning the gear, no doubt, over a couple of days. And then we're going to head back up, like I say, Blue Mountains first, and then maybe the Donkey Sanctuary, because it is just the cutest place on earth, and then head to Byron. But whatever it's got to be, we'll aim to be there in Byron with you. And then we'll have a talk and see whether or not you can spend a couple of days with us driving back, and we'll do a couple of shows on the way.
Yeah, awesome. I might even be able to do a live stream from the magistrate's business office in Frankston. Certainly not the court. You couldn't even call it a fucking court. They're a business, and they're gaining money by deception and in my opinion, fraud on the Australian people. And the quicker and the more people we wake up to the ruse that it is, the better.
I couldn't agree more, mate. Could not agree more. All right, I'll let you go. Have a great night. Say hi to Anna for me, and I'll be in touch real soon.
Good on you, Carl. Thanks very much, and have a good the rest of your show, mate. And thanks to all the viewers out there. And I hope you really get on board and start to bring more people to the idea that My Place communities are the way and the structure that we need to build to save this country.
Yep. Thank you, brother. Have a great one.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Cheers. Darren Bergwerf, really a man we can all get behind, folks, and I want to bring him to every state in this country. You need to meet him. He is such a good man, such a driven man, and not driven in any way to aid himself. He is driven entirely to help the people. Just a bloody great man. A bit like Black Sheep, who I see is back in the show tonight and being pretty active. Great to have you on board, buddy. Haven't seen you in a little while, and really appreciate it. Black Sheep is the guy, for folks who don't know, who took me around Tasmania, looked after me in a way that I never expected, and I cannot repay. It was truly one of the greatest weeks and a bit of my life, and in great part entirely due to that man, Black Sheep. So I take my hat off to him, and Happy New Year to you and your folks there, mate. I hope everything's going along pretty well. I've started a couple of comments that came up through here. You like Cossack, but he's just doing a show now. JJ, thank you too for your membership. You said you joined up. I appreciate that. So yeah, the Cossack, I love him to bits. He's made a mistake. He's made a couple of very big mistakes. Tactical errors, we might call them. Currently, nobody knows where he is. Well, okay, some people know where he is. He is alluding to the fact that he's in Russia. He's not. You can be absolutely sure of that. But he has applied for asylum and political asylum with Russia. They are apt to give it to him. It just is a bit of a period of discussions, I suppose, and he is in negotiations via his lawyers with the DPP, I'm sure, talking about these charges that have been laid against him that had his parole revoked. He is meant to be in court on the 25th of January to face a couple of other charges and this new charge that was leveled against him, this assault charge that was leveled against him by the most recent fracas. I believe his end of parole date is the 26th of January. That's my understanding. I might be out of it. I might be fractionally wrong there. Now, at the moment, the only way he would be able to attend his January 25th hearing is if he were to be able to attend via video link. The police are unlikely, or the prosecutors are unlikely to want that. They'll want him to appear in person. Obviously, they will arrest him on site. How does that all play out? Well, they would have him. They would be able, essentially, in their court system, potentially to find him guilty of those alleged charges and send him straight back inside again, given that he's just, had one parole violation and a 12-month sentence. You can be guaranteed he would be looking at 3 to 5 years. It would be a very serious, and should I say, journalistic career-ending decision if it were to go that way. He may well find himself having to leave Australia and go to Russia for the duration of this until it becomes safe for him to come back to the country and not be persecuted by the police. Now, I understand people might also believe that he's due this kind of treatment because of what happened most recently with the protest that he stumbled across in the city and involved himself in. Regardless of whether you feel he brought this on himself or not, there is a clear and very well-defined case of self-defense that he could and will be prosecuting, I'm sure. There are multiple video angles of this, and certainly a very bad look. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think ostensibly what was probably a worse look was the fact that he didn't go to the gentleman's aid after what had happened. But then you need to look at personal security. He was being surrounded at that time by a bunch of baying bloody seagulls who were screaming, ranting, raving, and couldn't get enough vision of him. There were a couple who went to aid the fella on the ground, but by and large, the large posse of protesters didn't go to the aid of the gentleman who required it. They swung around on the Cossack and made sure that we all saw just how bad a human being he was. Bear that in mind. So he has quite a battle on his hands. I think he's made an error of judgment calling himself a journalist. With the greatest of respect, he is not a journalist. He's had no journalistic training whatsoever. So to call himself a journalist is completely incorrect and puts a label on him, a target on him, that allows mainstream media and the dark side to manipulate and deal with him in a certain manner. Would they be able to deal with him in the same manner if he'd called himself a comedian? If all those Aussie Cossack videos of him pulling over and embarrassing the shit out of the coppers had have been portrayed as comedy rather than journalism, would he be in the same boat now? Or would he be in a more defendable position now? These are conversations I did have with him way back then, but the Aussie Cossack's a young man. He's 32, maybe 33 years of age. And well, we've all been that age. We all know we know it all. He might now be open to a little bit of advice, maybe a little bit of direction, who knows? But at the moment, he's put himself in a position where none of us can help him. Those of us that would help him if we could would gladly do so. But there is nothing we can do. I also think he's in a position now where he may as well be in jail. I can't imagine that he has free roam and he's allowed to walk around acres of open lands or anything like that. In fact, I suspect that he may only be allowed out for certain hours or a certain portion of time per day outside a building. He will be only allowed to go to certain areas of a building. And this sounds an awful lot like Julian Assange, doesn't it? Okay, that might be where he got the journalist idea from, that he can become the political prisoner, although he is at least being allowed now to put out a show once or twice a day or whatever he's doing. That's led the police into all sorts of embarrassing situations, including pulling his family over recently as they borrowed the Aussie Cossacks four-wheel drive and drove to Queensland and back. On the way back, the Coffs Harbour police saw the Ataman plate and 5 police cars pulled them over. The vehicle has darkly tinted windows, so they couldn't see inside. They've treated this like a Aussie Cossack, terrorist type pullover, only to discover 4 elderly relatives of the Aussie Cossack inside driving it. Rather embarrassingly, they backed away after getting a random breath test, and that was that. So he's still setting him up. He's still playing the game from where he's hiding. So I would just suggest he changed his moniker from journalist to comedian. Things might go a little bit better. Mike Rolton made a comment, people don't understand that you can see Freemasons. Yes, there needs to be some education about Freemasons. So I don't know going forward what shape or form that will take. At the end of the day, it can be a very dangerous thing to talk about, depending on how much of it you know. So I know there are plans afoot to do a lot more Freemason education of folks, so with a bit of luck, that will happen. Peter Ackers asked, just watching Guru regarding the missing money. I guess that's any idea what happened to it, or you can't say. I have a very limited understanding of the process of the money in Canberra, how it was collected, how it was initially set out to be collected. I understand that there were people involved at the beginning who weren't involved at the end. I understand that there were a certain amount of buckets at the beginning and there were a lot more buckets at the end. There may well have been considerably more buckets that weren't handed back in. I have heard figures ranging from $80,000 or $30,000 to $80,000 to over $200,000, and that now seems to be the figure that I hear most often, over $200,000. For people unaware of where the people in Canberra may have got this $200,000, it was raised ostensibly to buy land next door to the Epic campgrounds that a farmer was selling. And he would sell the land to whoever came up with the money. They raised pretty much, I think, what was the deposit, and we're trying to get the funding together. That's what that $200,000+ was. Now, it was raised in an X amount of buckets spread across X amount of days, and that's, these are the blanks I have no knowledge of, no fill-in of. Yes, Dave Graham and I last year have spoken about it privately. I don't believe Dave Graham took the money. I wouldn't have had the association that I had with him if I believed that. So, no, I don't believe Dave Graham took the money. Dave Graham tells me that he has the proof of those who did take the money. I haven't seen that proof. Apparently, in his shows this week, he has offered up that proof. I don't know if that's the case. I haven't seen any of his shows this week. I did see a bit of Sunday night's rant where he was predicting what was going to happen on Monday. I saw a very small portion, the very beginning of the show on Monday, and nothing more. I haven't seen what happened on Tuesday. Somebody told me that he hasn't come forward with the proof as yet, and I believe that was going to happen in his show tonight. Well, if that's what it is, that's great. I'm not going to get caught up in it because it's not my circus, not my monkey. Nothing to do with me. And there is a vast amount of money that seems to have gone missing. Apparently, there is an Australian Federal Police investigation into it. So I would hope at some point the people might get answers to those questions, but I'm not the person to go asking for them. I'm not interested. They are criminals. If they took the money, let them be sorted out, go to jail. The freedom movement, as I see it, those people involved in this argument, and some that aren't involved in it but are involved in the movement at a lesser degree or a lower level, if you want to call it that. I just see this as division, pure division. It's entertainment for the thong clapping masses. Frankly, we've got to get away from our thong clapping mass. The way people perceive us as the thong clapping, tinfoil hat wearing group. There are many of us in this group who think clearly, use critical thinking, have proof, have access to proof, can speak eloquently, can speak concisely, can speak and pronounce names correctly. There are intelligent people in this group. They do not show themselves in many cases because they don't want to be associated with others in the group who at this point are embarrassing themselves, and certainly not everybody. And I will exclude here explicitly Dan Vincent down in Canberra. Dan conducts himself with honour every time I've spoken to him, and in every interaction I've had with him both on and off the air. I couldn't speak highly enough of Dan. I don't know too many of the other crew in Canberra, but I've been labelled a cooker beside them, and I'm proud to wear that badge. They are doing a service that many of you won't do, are incapable of doing. You couldn't do without your hairdryer. You couldn't do without your daily once, twice, or three times shower. You couldn't do without your beautiful feather down doona on your king size bed. There's plenty of other things that you do for the movement, and we thank you for them. But you need to support the cookers because they are doing a job on behalf of the people that you, and I'll admit me, couldn't do for as long as they've been doing. Show them the respect they deserve. Yes, they are angry at times, and I think they have every right to be, particularly with what they're going through at the moment. The surveillance, the harassment on a daily basis, number of times every day basis. I'm afraid many folks in our group don't have any idea what those fellas go through. And yes, it would be great to go to Canberra and support them, but we might be able to find ways to support them where we don't go to Canberra and just do nothing for a week. Turn it into an entertainment event, turn it into a rock concert, We're not going to do that. Yes, of course, there has to be entertainment. Yes, of course, there has to be time away to discuss the big issues. But if you are going to try and put a rally together and bring another 1 million+ people to Canberra, then all that's going to happen is you're going to see the same vertical dividers trying to rise up and fracture the freedom community again. And because they've already been programmed the first time round, you'll find that those followers will go back and be attracted back to them. And all of a sudden, nothing will be achieved again. Somebody will come out with a great idea. Oh, why don't we come back on the 1st of April? That'll be great. April Fool's Day. And the 1 million people will swallow that, and everybody will fuck off home again and think, what a great job we've done. No. There is no point in going back to Canberra en masse unless we're going to do something about it. Now, we are peace-loving, peaceful-minded people. What can we do? There are things that can be done. But until people are prepared to do those things en masse, 1 or 2 million people, then there's no point in going back. And if you are going to be fractured by, these, to take a phrase from John Wilson, these piss ants, if you are going to be fractured by them, then why bother wasting the fuel, the time, the energy going to Canberra? Okay, go and pat the Canberra crew on the back, buy them a beer, that'll be great. Give them a feed, buy them a new tent, sleeping bag, whatever they need. But is that enough? Of course it's not. Nowhere near enough. So how do we unite? Well, that's what we need to get to, folks. We need to find unification. And to that end, I don't see that there's much point in talking to these other truthers, these other freedom fighters, these other journalists, because at the moment they're too busy trying to protect their own income sources, trying to, well, that's not true of Guru, I'll be honest. I don't think he has an income source. Certainly not in the way that that those running subscription services do or anything like that. Guru, as far as I'm aware, makes his money from concreting, and there is money to be made in concreting if you know what you're doing, and apparently he does. So I believe he's been tested over the recent days about how he afforded to do things and buy things, and his boat. Somebody actually accused him of using the money stolen from Canberra to buy his boat. Now, those sorts of accusations, while not only being defamatory, are just bloody stupid. Just because you're unaware that he lived on a boat, he's had the boat for 6 or 7 years. It was one of the first things I found out about him. Now, okay, I believed him when he told me. Until somebody proves that different, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Unfortunately, it seems he's fallen into an ego trap in the last few days. I heard this afternoon, and I haven't had time to give him a call and find out whether or not there is any truth to this or not. But allegedly, in the last couple of days, he made a statement that he didn't say things in Canberra that were being attributed to him and some other elements that were on stages in Canberra at that time. He vehemently denied saying the things that he was accused of saying. And so much so to a point where I believe he has allegedly put his boat up with words, and I'm paraphrasing, to the effect of, if you can find any footage or any audio of me saying any of what you claim, then I'll give you my boat. Apparently, he's been flooded with video of him on stage at various different stages with various different people, very vocally supporting what they were saying, and getting the microphone and being very vocal about it himself. So I got to say, I'm a bit concerned for me little mate. He might be homeless. He's a man of honour. He will, if he is a man of honour, and I have no reason to believe he isn't, he'll be cleaning out the boat and offering it up to the person who got to him with it. Now, whether that person's actually going to take it from him or not might be a different matter. And if that person were to take it from him, my advice would be careful what you do. I think all you would create is a martyr. So, and I don't want to see Guru or his wife in a situation where they don't have a roof over their heads. I genuinely believe that he's worked his ass off to try and do the best by the people, in his own way, in his own style. Whether that's been the best overall plan, I guess we'll all wait and see. There are a variety of questions that need answering. That's not for me to be involved in. Like I say, not my circus, not my monkey. I haven't played in that field. I don't know the ins and outs of it. And frankly, I don't care. It's all an ego fight to me. Yes, okay, I understand there's a lot of money missing, but it's an ego fight. And I am sick to death of the egos in this bloody game. You've got 60,000 people following you. Wonderful. I've been on 10,570 followers for about 6 months. If you truly believe I only have 10,570, whatever it is, subscribers on YouTube, and bear in mind that's just one channel, then you have a screw loose. Come to any one of my shows, you'll get a bit of an idea. I'm flabbergasted by the reach we seem to have, and I'm honoured that you trust me with it. And therefore, I would always show you the respect of honouring you by treating this whole thing with respect. It's time we stop the children's games. It's time we put the ego aside. It's time we united under one banner. And very soon, I'm going to explain to you, along with John Wilson, how we can do that. And we would welcome all the freedom fighters, the current freedom crew, to be a part of this. But it will be defined. You will need to know what we are building, and you will need to subscribe to it. And I mean the freedom fighters, these people who claim to be in this for the people. Well, if that's the case, then you'll have no problem joining us. And I look forward to having you in the fold. I don't care whether we've never spoken, we have spoken and never spoken again. I don't care whether you've said bad things about me or I've said bad things about you. It doesn't matter. We're going to draw a line in the sand, folks. All the piss ants can piss off. We are for the people, nothing else, not for ourselves, not for our subscriber base. People get really excited about having 10,000 listeners, that kind of thing. I mean, I've worked on radio stations that have hundreds of thousands of breakfast listeners every morning. When you turn on the radio, you're talking to 500,000 or 1 million people. So I don't get too excited about 10,000 or 60,000 listeners or viewers. That doesn't do anything for my ego. When I've got 1 million people, that might do something for my ego, but it'll only be good. Because at the moment, I've done nothing that my ego should be in any way proud of. All I've done is give you a place to raise your voice, have your concerns, and hopefully learn information in a way that isn't sensationalized, isn't bastardized. And I'm more than happy to admit when I'm wrong. Okay, you can prove to me that what I've said is wrong, and you can go back and look through the shows. It's happened. I'm the first one to admit it. I'll fall on the sword 100%. I try and verify everything that I tell you, but occasionally shit sneaks through. That's not because I'm trying to lead you astray. I hope you know that. If you haven't figured out yet that I'm doing this genuinely to try and help us all find a way through this, then you're probably watching the wrong channel. So I really didn't mean to speak about this for quite as long as I have, and I have lost track of what's going on in the chat. So I'll get away from that. Yeah, I see a lot of support for Ricardo Bosi. I'll be sending him an email tonight requesting an interview with him next week. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I do hear through channels that they're very busy at the moment. Mind you, I think everybody who's been associated with the Bosies over the last 2 years know that mantra very well. Oh, yes, we're very busy. We can't talk, or they don't reply at all. So hopefully that isn't the way it's going to be going forward. But I have no control over the Bosies. I have no control over if or when he would come and talk to me. And other than the fact that when we spoke before Christmas, he gave me an undertaking that he would. So I will push forward and make sure that that's what's happening. Now, I want to play you something, folks. This is probably going to get me kicked off YouTube, but I want to play you a little something that I was quite shocked to learn. Now, you may have heard from us that Disney, one of the companies that have been heavily involved in the evil of things for a long time. This popped up today on my Facebook feed, and toward the end of it, you are going to learn something you probably don't know about Mickey Mouse and one of the earliest cartoons. We've watched this cartoon. I remember seeing this cartoon as a child and never realized really what was going on. Or if I did, I've forgotten all about it. So there are two parts to this Disney story, and I'll bring it up here. I'm sorry, I must have, hang on, I've probably got a couple of those up. Let me get rid of those. And let me hit play here and have a listen to this.
A Mickey Mouse cup. You have a cup that has stuff written on the inside. A Mickey Mouse cup specifically has Mickey written on the inside. And when you're drinking liquids, you can see the reflection on the surface of the liquid. And the reflection actually says wicked.
You think that was premeditated?
Yes.
You think that's why Walt named his infamous character Mickey?
Yes.
Did it catch you off guard?
No, I had always known in my gully that Mickey was wicked, just filthy. You can actually see Mickey in a factory in one of his episodes where he's making Swiss cheese. And basically what he's doing is there's a conveyor belt and he's taking each one of these blocks of cheese and he's putting it up to his area 1 and poking a hole through the cheese with it. So he's actually going like this to the cheese.
And he's making the Swiss.
Yeah, he's making holes in the cheese with his mouse.
How's that? I mean, what do you say? It's pretty wild. If you know anything about Disney, you'll know about the 33 Club they have there. You might even know a bit about the little girls in yellow dresses. There is a lot of evidence about Disney. If you're certainly surprised about that, there is a heap more of it. There's a couple of other things I'd like to show you tonight. Let me just see if I can find them. In Victoria at the moment, people may not be aware. Of course, Victorianistan had their communist president re-elected late November, and they have, either kept it very quiet or just announced this spectacular thing. A windfall tax has been introduced in Victoria for homeowners. It will come into effect on July the 1st, 2023. In a nutshell, if your land is rezoned and it increases in value, then you're going to owe the government either 62.5% of the increase or 50%, dependent on the amount of the increase. Now, you may not have a mortgage, okay? You own your home outright, then you'll suddenly owe the government money to stay in your home. So, for example, if your home was valued at $1 million and when they rezone the land, it's valued at $1.5 million, you will owe them $250,000. Get that right. You own your own home. They rezone it. It gains $500,000 in value. They're going to take 62.5% over the first $100,000. All right. Anything above the first $100,000, they're going to take 62.5% off. Now, they'll offer you the opportunity to pay that $250,000 off over 30 years. So you're back in the debt trap. Or they might offer you to pay it out straight away, in which case you lose your nest egg, if you like, unless you're wealthy enough to be able to afford 250 grand on your, and that's presupposing that your place has only gone up $500,000. People in Victoria who voted for this government, what were you thinking? They're going to keep you in a debt trap even after you've got out of the debt trap they're going to throw you back in it. And the way they're going to make that happen is they're going to make sure that your properties are climate change compliant, that you're doing all the best practices for climate change. And if you don't do that, then they're going to go onto your property and they will make those changes and improvements. And if you don't pay for them, they'll take your property off you. They are doing this in Victoria, folks. If I were you, I'd be selling my property now and moving somewhere other than Queensland. Queensland's full. But I would be moving anywhere. Get out of Victoria, Stan. My God, this bastard is just insane down there. And what they are doing to you people, I cannot believe. It is all there for everybody to see. In fact, I've got a web page I can bring up for you. If you want to go and check it out, it's sro.vic.gov.au/windfall-gains-tax. I'll actually post that in the chat. So if you want to go and have a look at exactly what they plan to do to you folks, then in Victoria, if you weren't aware of the windfall tax, then I've just posted that in the chat. Go and have a look. That'll break it down for you. Absolutely friggin' staggering what this bastard is planning on doing. Now, there's been a lot of talk in America about the Brunson Supreme Court case. What a shit show that turned out to be. The ruling has been made. The ruling has been, the case has been denied. So they do not, at this opportunity at any rate, get to put it in front of the Supreme Court. The Brunson case, of course, was going to blow open all the alleged voting issues that have been happening in the world. I've kept you a while, so look, I'll not hold you up too much longer. I've got a couple of more shots I want to show you. This is one I picked up last night, was sent to me. How long have they been doing this shit to us, folks? That round pattern there on the left-hand side, clouds don't generally form in perfectly circular patterns. Have a look at the date that satellite image was generated. That was on the 1st of September in 2017. So how long have they been doing this to us? If you are able to go back and find pictures like this, let's find out when they started doing this to us, folks. How long have they been screwing with our weather like this? I don't know if you've got a weather app yet to go and check out. Wouldn't rely on the bomb 100%. They have changed the way that they are letting us view the weather systems in their weather radars. They changed that at midnight on when it became January 1st, and they've been very sneaky about it. I'm hopeful of getting Dave on from Melbourne, Chook, for a bit of a chat. He can explain that in greater detail. The Victorians have been watching the chemtrails and the generation of the clouds from those chemtrails and being able to correlate where, when, and how it's all being done using the available data that was being put through from the bomb. That was discovered. Now the bomb don't put that information out anymore, but there are others. And if you want to go and find a weather app that at least generates radar images, you will find that there are 18 at least of these types of installations around the country that are capable of circular weather pattern generation, for the want of a better term. Yeah, amazing, just bloody amazing stuff that they can do. And they've been doing it. Yes, I do kind of believe the white hats are spraying anything from hydroxychloroquine to, some kind of nullifying agent. But I'm also a bit concerned that we've had plentiful growth. Our paddocks, our fields are full of long grass that's going to get dried out in the next month or two. And then we're going to have our bushfire season. We already have heard, haven't seen any pictures yet, but have heard that one of those US aircraft that has a laser embedded in its nose and was allegedly used in the Californian wildfires a bit over 12 months ago, the fires that sawed houses in half perfectly. How does fire disintegrate everything on one side and leave the rest of the house perfectly fine? It's done by laser. That's how. So haven't seen pictures of that one in Australia, but people are telling me it's here. So they're pretty easy to spot. You see a strange-looking aircraft, big jet aircraft it'll be, 737 or bigger, maybe a 75 or a 76, and it'll have a very strange-looking nose on it. The laser is mounted right in the nose, and it can pivot, point and turn and do all sorts of different things. So if you happen to see something like that flying around, folks, very keen on getting a picture. And for those folks who still think that President Biden is the same bloke who got into politics however many millennia ago it was, have a look at this. It's a bit of a small photo. I couldn't blow it up any bigger than it is. But you will see on the left-hand side, Joe Biden from many, many moons ago on his left arm, he had a tattoo of a style. Now, you will notice during his presidency that there is no tattoo on that left arm. You might also notice that that left arm has got really, really, really hairy and a bit thicker around the elbows and around the biceps. But that might have been working out. So just a bit of an idea. Which Biden? We actually think he's been replaced again recently. He's now looking a little bit more vacant and does seem to have to be led around everywhere, which is, kind of appealing, but just the way it is. Anyway, I've kept you long enough, folks. Thank you very much for your time tonight. You've seen the scroll going through there. Yep, our memberships are up and going. Please go to vofhq.com, look at the membership tab, click on it, go through. And if you should choose to help us out with your membership, it will be greatly valued, and the Galactic Larrikins and I will be on the road that much quicker. It seriously is a matter of funding. I've got to get us down to Canberra. I've got to get us a week in Canberra, and then we're back on the road doing 3 shows in New South Wales, potentially 4 or 5 shows, and then down to Victoria, and then off to South Australia, folks. So February. South Australia, February. Get in touch with Cherie at vofhq.com, and we're going to start lining up dates. So we're aiming to do as many dates as we possibly can in February through South Australia. So I know that prior to Christmas we were talking about something like 15 different locations. If that's the case, so be it. We're out for as long as we can be out, and that comes down to what sort of membership support we get. So if I had 10,570, whatever it is, subscribers, if every one of you joined us at $5 a month, we would have more than enough to keep not just our crew on the road, but be able to help people who are in desperate need of it. So if you are a subscriber of None2K or The Voice of Freedom or Voice of Freedom or any of the other channels that I have, please consider becoming a member. If there is nothing else you can do in this movement, you can try and support those of us, I guess, that are trying to support you, trying to give you a voice. That was how it was put to me. So if that resonates with you, then thank you very much. If that doesn't, well, then that doesn't. And no problem. We all move on. VOFHQ.com with our memberships, or if you don't want to be a member but you don't mind donating, there is a donate button there too. It all goes to the same petrol tank, and very shortly to the same 3 or 4 petrol tanks. So we can't do it without your support. It's that simple. We can't travel around the country without it. So we'll either live with your support or we will die without it. And if that's the case, then so be it. If we are not required, we are not required. This isn't about generating, a media presence for me or a future for me in any kind of media. I don't care. I want to get the problem fixed. After that, we'll figure that out. But right now, we have serious issues we need to face. And the biggest serious issue we are facing is the division in the freedom fighter truther movement. Well, folks, fight away amongst yourselves. Very soon, you're going to be given the opportunity to join something much bigger. I really hope you choose to join it. It's going to be a very exciting piece for us all. Oh, Jason, I was just about to say goodbye. Fuel will go further than electric. My word, it will. And you'll go there quicker. As it turns out, particularly on public holidays, school holidays, all that kind of thing, all the numpties who've gone off and bought green cars and want to go on a long drive have to queue up for 3 hours to charge up when they get low charge because there's so many vehicles on the road, and they pull up at these charging stations and can't get into them for 3 hours. I think that's bloody hilarious. Good luck to you with that. And as soon as an electric vehicle can pull the amount of equipment we need hauled around behind us, be that a caravan or a trailer or whatever the hell it is, then I'll start considering it. But I guarantee you, if you were able to, and you're not, if you were able to put a tow bar on a Tesla, I'd love to see the mileage you get out of pulling something that's got 500 kilos behind it going up a hill. You're really interested to hear about that. Barbara, thank you so much for your sticker. I appreciate every bit of it, and thank you so much. All right, folks, that's enough for me. Chris has been very active. He's obviously missed the fact that he wanted to come in and share some stuff with us. I did send you the link, mate. Maybe it's just not turned up, as many of them don't. So we'll catch up with Chris, though. Well, it might even be Friday night yet, the way we're going. In the last week or so, since Chris and Bob came on the show last Friday night, I must say they've gathered one or two groupies. I say that with the greatest of respect. Chris certainly blew us out of the water with a lot of his information last week. I think, folks, I will make the call right now. This Friday night, the Friday Free-for-All will be a Rumble-only Friday Free-for-All with Bob, with Chris, and I might get a couple of other people into the mix for that. And we'll go to places you never thought possible. So provided the boys are available, then we'll do that on Friday night, a Rumble-only Friday night free-for-all. I did tell you we're going to do it, so let's get around to do it. Can I ask Darren about the house thing as well? What house thing are we talking about, Grunch? If you can ask me very quickly, Darren's been sitting in the background patiently waiting for me to get off and talk to him, so I might be able to ask him. Yeah, I can't put it together in my mind about what you're meaning about the house, but put it in there and I'll ask him and I'll give you the answer a bit later. Yeah, electric cars are definitely not the go. They do make up a significant portion of the dickheads that we do see on the road. I'll be honest with you, I really find it much easier just to avoid them all, and I recommend you do the same. Have a good night. I'm going to talk to you again tomorrow a couple of times.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!